Let me tell you, we had over 5,000 people sign up for a waiting list for a chance to get in these 71 units. So the need for affordable housing in good quality neighborhoods in the city, there's really not a cap on it.
And Liberty Place is truly mixed income housing. We're serving between 80% AMI and 30% AMI, including 21 units of permanent supportive housing for people who need a higher level of services. So in addition to the locational aspects, truly Mount Vernon Triangle is a neighborhood of opportunities. Rob talked about access to jobs, access to transportation, to metro lines, access to fresh foods, grocery stores, a vibrant neighborhood is the opportunity to live in a mixed income community.
We've got people from all walks of life and all ages and all stages of life in the building, and it creates a great vibrancy, and there's been a lot of rapport already, even though we've just recently opened up the building.
If we, as a country, choose to be geographically dispersed, we're going to have to be creative about supporting both our youth and our older people, and I think intergenerational housing is one of the tools.
I think the public-private partnerships are crucial to creating affordable housing. I don't really know how you do it otherwise. I mean, there are land costs, there's construction costs, and there are low rents if you're trying to serve people without high incomes. HAND is the group that brings us all together. They convene us and they hold us up, and right now they're holding us up. It's been a long road, it's been hard, and we only made it because we had partners in the private sector and the government who helped us get over all the bumps along the way. My mother grew up in public housing. Her and my father were able to move to a neighborhood which was the first to integrate public schools voluntarily in the country. And as a result, I was able to make it to Harvard University. And so creating pockets of opportunity in these high opportunity neighborhoods is the only way to create opportunities for the next generation to succeed and not be locked into cycles of poverty and not fulfilling their potential.
Arlington is a victim of its own success. People want to live there. We have great transportation, great schools, great jobs, and more people were getting pushed out. You're recognizing Queens Court as an example of affordable housing at scale. That took us 10 years to get done. And it was 39 one-bedroom apartments that were in need of more, and we did not let up. We said, we're not going to tear down this building until you give us scale. And we are now home to 250 households, hundreds of people that get to live in Roslyn. What keeps me in the fight is understanding the magnitude of the need and knowing that, one property is as happy as I am and as proud as we are when we get to cut a ribbon and deliver 100 beautiful homes for those families that are going to call that place their home. The magnitude is so great. We are 300,000 homes behind that we need in this region, so we can't let up. So we can't be satisfied when we deliver one beautiful project. That's an example of what can be done, and hopefully we'll bring more people in to helping us come up with the tools we need to hit the bigger numbers. But what motivates me is we have a lot of work to do. It means a lot to APA to be recognized by HAND. And having HAND acknowledge that, amplify that message in the region to say, we aren't going to settle for incremental change. We want bold change, and that's what we need to move the needle forward in affordable housing. I appreciate that. Part of the reason why I wanted to take the job is, as a daughter of an immigrant family that moved here right before I was born, who didn't speak the language and didn't come to the US with resources, knowing what a good home has meant for me and my siblings, and the access it gave us to an education, to healthcare, to eventually be in the position where I can now help, felt lucky. And I hope that APA can be that bridge for many, many other families in this region.
I know there's so many people out there that are going through rough times, and they don't have the voice to come out and speak for themselves. So I think that I kind of want to be that voice for them. Knowing that affordable housing when I was growing up was important for my family. It was hard for my parents to pay for their rent, and I just wanted to work on something that kind of like affected me and my family. And Montgomery Housing Partnership was that place. I'm involved in so many things. I do the resident engagement when I'm working with residents applying for, let's say, rental assistant. That could be a portion of my day. And then I have to visit a resident. I'm dropping off some food, or I'm dropping off a gift card for them. I also have a program that I run every month. We do food distribution for residents. The work that I do, I don't do it to be recognized. I do it out of my heart because it's what I love to do. But to have an organization like HAND recognize the work that I've been doing in the past 2 years, it's incredible. It feels amazing. I feel like HAND, it's kind of like one of those organizations that it's a beacon of hope for low-income families that need affordable housing. I think that the right to have a place to live should not be a luxury. It should definitely be a right. And the fact that HAND is that organization that is working towards ensuring that communities that need this the most have a place to live, it's incredible. We should have more organizations like HAND. There's organizations out there that are there for you, rooting for you, and just stay there, stay strong.
Building Up really represents what we do on behalf of our residents across all the facets of what we do. So first of all, Building Up is building and preserving more affordable housing in the communities that desperately need good quality housing that is close to amenities where people can be a part of the community. It's always been about the residents. We're doing this for the people in the community who need a place to live and who need assistance in how they want to build up their lives, however they define that. And that's always been the nature of conversation at Wesley. Sure, we have to produce units to do that, but it's so much more for us. You know, I was raised by a single mom, and the way that I was able to go to college, the way that I was able to do the things that I was able to do is because my mom was lucky enough to own our home. And that made a huge difference. When you talk about the barriers to gaining wealth, and if you talk about the long-term racial inequities, that's what continues to fuel me in this work, and that's why this means so much, and that's why the work that HAND is doing speaks to me. Obviously, there's a huge regional shortage of affordable housing. The way we solve that is for everybody to come together. We've been involved with HAND since the inception, and it's been so wonderful to see HAND started as a way for startup nonprofits who wanted to do this work to come together and learn from each other. Then it expanded to be a convener and brought in a wide, diverse variety of stakeholders who could add their voices and their weight to the conversation. HAND was critical in what was being done to move the conversation from just a purely local level to a regional level. To be recognized as Developer of the Year is really special because it is a recognition by our peers and among our peers. And so any type of recognition by HAND is always something that we celebrate, but Developer of the Year is such a great way to be recognized for the work that we're trying to do.
Well, as Amazon was moving into HQ2, one of the biggest concerns in the region was housing affordability. We wanted to be part of the solution. We know that Amazon coming to a place like the Capital Region is primarily a great thing for so many of us, but also that there are ways that we can show up for the community, that we can invest our capital, and we can invest our dollars, and quite frankly, use the power of the word Amazon to get into partnerships and deals to advance affordable housing, which is an issue that's a real issue in the Capital Region. And so being able to come into a community and say, you're our neighbor, we really value you, we want to make sure that you have a home as we grow into this community, was heartfelt and was sincere. We know the problem is now. We know we have to operate with urgency. We can't wait and say in 5 years this is something that we're going to address. It is a hard fight, but at the end of the day, it's making sure that families can stay. One, it feels like a crazy, amazing honor to be recognized, but particularly by hand. Heather and Han had been pushing to bring more players to the table, and so it was a really big, meaningful honor to not only see that challenge that they had presented to the corporate community, the business community, but to be able to say, we're gonna step up to that challenge. And that, for me, has been personally gratifying and satisfying to see a goal that, quite frankly, I wasn't sure that we as a region could meet, and to be part of the solution to say, yes, we're actually going to meet it, and there's still going to be more work to do.
Hello and welcome to the Parks at Walter Reed. There is no better place for you to convene and celebrate our shared commitment to affordable housing than Washington, D.C. Our work here is driven by the belief that a safe and stable life begins with a safe and stable home. I want to thank you for recognizing Washington, D.C. as a national and regional leader in setting bold, affordable housing goals and then following through with an even bolder policy and investment. We are on track to meet our goal of 36,000 new homes by 2025, with at least a third of them designated affordable. And there's more. In the budget we just passed, we're adding another $444 million to the $1 billion we've already invested in our Housing Projection Trust Fund. And just last week, we announced our new Black Homeownership Strike Force, which is charged with setting bold goals and recommending innovative policies that will help us address racial disparities in home ownership rates. I know that if we keep working together and if our entire region prioritizes affordable housing, then we can keep the National Capital Region a great place to live and work for people of all backgrounds and incomes. Thank you for your partnership and have a wonderful conference.
Housing's fundamental in a community, and in particular a community like Alexandria. I think a stable, growing, expanding community needs housing. Housing is basic infrastructure. You know, you cannot create jobs, you cannot support a thriving economy unless you have the housing supply necessary to house people who are going to be part of that growing economy. The biggest change, which I think has been positive, is we have moved from seeing housing as a social service, just like we would any other safety net program for the community, and we see it now as a key part and parcel with economic growth, but also something that the supply alone is part of the solution. That's certainly been a clarion call for us in Alexandria, and as we've approached economic development initiatives, we have increasingly realized that it's not the old days of how much money can you put on the table to attract a business here. It's how do you create an environment where they're going to be able to attract and retain employees, and housing is key to that. I think this is a recognition of all the work that our team has been doing, all the boards and commissions, the advocacy groups, folks in our community. We could not do the work that we do in the city without the support of the public, without the support of advocates. And so for me, this recognition is a recognition of that work. This is a recognition of the community's commitment to creating the kind of housing supply that the city's going to rely on for generations to come. Every time we have one of these, ribbon cuttings, and you see the families and you talk to them, every time I run into someone on the street and, they say, I live here, and you realize that their home was a set of decisions and public meetings and policy questions and, community charrettes and whatever else to get there, that makes that worth it.
Every single one of our residents deserves a safe, stable place to live. We cannot have meaningful economic development in our county without it. So we're investing in tools that make housing more accessible for our residents in rapidly changing neighborhoods. This includes collaboration with housing advocates, organizations, and developers to deliver commitments and investments in corridors where affordability should be preserved. When families have access to affordable housing, it benefits their entire lives. We've seen studies that show that children with stable housing do better in school because they can focus on their studies. Their parents don't have to deal with the added stress of moving, the threat of foreclosure or eviction, and affordable housing can open the door for better opportunities for both children and their parents. And our Department of Housing and Community Development will strengthen the Housing Investment Trust Fund with a $10 million allocation in this year's budget. We were also successful in securing $20 million from the state to assist us with our affordable housing efforts. We will be splitting these funds between our Housing Investment Trust Fund and our Right of First Refusal program. The affordable housing policies we're adopting now are meant to give every Prince Georgian a chance to capitalize on this time of rising opportunity in our county. We need partners like HAND because these are not problems that we can solve alone. Coming up with solutions to fix decades of systemic inequity takes support from dedicated citizens and organizations. I'm honored to receive the Capital Region Trailblazer Award because it recognizes the effort our county has put into making housing more affordable for our residents.